Okay, so this video is just to show a very early preview of my Query Tutor, which I've been working on. So the point of my Query Tutor is to teach SQL to people who are beginning with SQL, and it uses an SQLite backend. And the basic idea is you have a list of topics down the left here. So select as, where, from, keywords in SQL, and there'll be a series of exercises associated with those keywords. So if I click on this first one, we have a task here called first names, where I get the instructions from the table club members, list the first name of every member in the club. And here's an example of data. That's not necessarily the data that's in the table, but just gives you an example of the layout. So with each of these areas, we have questions within them. Now this will eventually be populated by quite a lot. I expect to be, say, somewhere between 5 and 10 for every single keyword. So there'll be probably around 100, bit over 100 different queries for people to practice on. So if we click through the queries, it'll give you different questions. This is all customizable. We can change this for every single question, change the background, make it look a whole lot prettier. This is just my, as I said, early release. And down the bottom here we have the query window. You can also adjust everything, so I can adjust this if I want to look more at my query or more at the question. I can adjust this out here, but let's just go full screen for the moment. And I'll move this up a little bit. So when we change questions, it'll have our last query as we last ran. That it'll pop back up for us. So if I go into the where, then that's a query I did there. So let's go back to the first one. And we'll just have a look at some of these buttons. So we've already explained here that we've got our question here, an example table. Down here we can write our query. So here we can say, given this question, what should my results be from my query? So the results for this question should look like that. And then I can actually run my query that I write down here. So if I click run query, I've got a green bar across here saying correct, because it looks exactly the same. If I bring up expected result and compare the two, then you can see that they're exactly the same. If I move to another question, such as this one, now this is going to have an error because I've got something that's not correct there. I'll run that query. I'll just expand my query error here, and it will tell me what the error is, and I get this orange try again. So let's now go ahead and complete this one. So the question says, from club members, list the surname of every member. Okay, so select S name from club members. Now I should expect to get an error here, so I'll run that. Even though it has listed the surname of everyone in club members, if I look at my expected result, you can see that the data result's the same, but the title of the column's different. So I haven't got that correct yet. So I could fix that with putting the as keyword in here, first name, run the query again. Oh, maybe it should be surname, not first name. So I'll change that to surname, run my query again, and we've got the green light. Okay, so when you flick through, it'll show you your last query. You can just run it. This one's still incorrect. So that's how you use expected result and run query, and then you can compare the two to see what the difference is. And down here on the left here, we can have a look at our topic lesson. So what the topic lesson is if I'm under the where topic in a problem here and I click topic lesson, it'll give me the lesson about the where clause. If I'm in a question under the select and I set topics lesson, then it will give me the lesson on that keyword. So again, these are pretty much placeholders. I need to write all these in full. But an interesting thing to know about this application is this is all created dynamically. The program builds itself dynamically from information that's in a database. So you could, without writing a line of code, without changing this program at all, you could just change the database that's behind there and replace all the topics, replace all the questions, replace all the actual question backgrounds and the expected results and all that. You could do it all in the background, and the entire program would rebuild with the information that you wanted. So I built it very dynamically that way to make sure that we could always update it. Later on, I'm going to put some menus up here, and we're going to look at being able to do some more administration with it, specifically looking at really the data of the users. So if I have a classroom of students, I could have a look at their data and see when they're actually working. So they may be doing majority of their work outside of class, they may be doing the majority inside of class, they may be doing it 8 o'clock at night, they may be doing it straight after school. It would be a bunch of information that would help you adapt the way you teach to the way the students learn. So if you've got students, the majority of them are working outside of class, then you need to have self-paced material. If they're doing the majority of it in class, then obviously you need to again adapt to how they learn. So we've also got this button down here, progress, and the progress at the moment will show each of these topics, and if there's a grey box for a question, then that means it hasn't been attempted. If there's an orange box, it means run query has been pressed with a query and it's not correct. And the green boxes mean a query has been written, run, and it is correct. So this is a very small table at the moment because I've just put single questions in just as placeholders under these topics. But these will obviously expand, and they'll have a row of, say, I don't know, say 10 squares on each one, or 5 to 10 squares to begin with, and that'll expand over time. And you can see just at a bird's eye view of exactly how far the students have progressed. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of my Query Tutor. So the big thing that's left is the actual content, and the idea, one of the ideas that we were going to have is to have a CSI style progression. So where you start looking for, say, the attributes of a suspect. You could look at them by, say, all people have tattoos, people are known to be live in this area, things like that. To begin with, I'm probably just going to run with data that I've got because it's a huge job creating all the data and writing all the queries. So I'm using the Chinook database at the moment, so if anyone wants to contribute, you can look at the Chinook database, which I'll provide a link to, and you can come up with any queries you want. You can structure the questions and give me the query that it's supposed to result in, and I can throw it in there, or you could throw it directly into the database yourself if anyone wants to contribute. Otherwise, I expect release 1 hopefully to be ready just after the middle of the year, and so I can actually start using this live with students.